TLDR, the title is literal. The answer is blank. There is no best currency that works for every server. Owners have to come together with their players to find a currency that works for them. But that's a boring conclusion. While we're here, let's diss some Austrians. If you don't know, this is primarily a response to ImMrPibb's video, which showcases an Austrian economist's view on Minecraft currencies. I do respect his video, and I really mean no ill will towards him as a person, but I do have to respond to his claims. The school of Austrian economics is not that reputable, mostly because they like to dismiss factual evidence. In fact, it is better to view Austrian economics as an ideology more than anything. They're driven by the dogmatic beliefs that individual choice is the best way to run an economy. You can see some of this with the Austrian guy's video. He references other servers, sure, but he never goes into how they're actually doing in Minecraft. In this video, I'll counter those points by providing actual evidence, an analysis of 4 Minecraft servers and their currency systems. Hopefully, you can see how the Austrian perspective might not be right, both in Minecraft and in real life. And yes, there are real life implications to this Minecraft currency debate. As you can see, these 4 servers are arranged into a grid. One axis is having currency versus no currency, and the other is small versus large. The small no currency server is DreamSMP, the small currency server is Hermitcraft. The large no currency server is Civlabs, and the large currency server is Stoneworks. By analyzing these 4 servers and how they utilize currency, I think we can learn something about how currency works. DreamSMP is a strange server to start off with, I admit. It focuses way more on story and lore, but just stick with me and we can explain some things. I believe that the fate of DreamSMP is a warning to all those who believe in the Austrian system. Specifically, I want to highlight the episode with the Phantom membranes. Basically, the DreamSMP had disabled Phantoms midway through, making Phantom membranes a limited resource. However, there's a way to get via cats, but I don't think anyone knew that at the time. There's a slight inherent value, making potions of slow falling, and Tommy Innit, a member of DreamSMP, stole all the Phantom membranes to control the server via his own currency. This, in my opinion, shows the problem of letting the players decide currency. They're limited by their own selfishness. Game theory is a good way to explain this. I don't mean games and video games. Instead, game theory studies situations involving winners and losers. One of these situations is a stag hunt. Here, there is a group of hunters who are all working together to get a stag. One member can walk away from the others and abandon them all, getting a lower value hare all for themselves. Or, they can work together and all share the higher value stag. We can apply this to the DreamSMP. Here, members are tempted to walk away with their own prize, aka the Phantom membrane currency, rather than work together, aka make a common currency. DreamSMP never had any common currency, and thus it caused both in-lore and out-of-lore problems. I do admit, DreamSMP is too roleplay focused to make a big conclusion, but there's another server I can show. The Civlabs servers, which is a really cool civilization experiment, and I'll link it in the description. The Civlabs servers are an example of how giving everything to player choice can create problems. Civlabs doesn't have much lore or roleplay. Instead, it's a survival server with some gameplay changes added on, and it's different in that it's time limited. You can only play during certain sessions, and the whole server resets after a few weeks. In Civlabs, there's a lack of a common currency, and thus, cooperation is discouraged. You have to travel far and wide of a boat to find new civilizations, and there's no common currency, thus it's much harder to trade. A currency needs to be a good signal of value, and if every civilization has their own signals, then it's really difficult to communicate. All in all, division and conflict are furthered within the server. Stoneworks shows the exact opposite. A common currency allows for more international cooperation in the server. It's obviously far from vanilla, but in turn, Stoneworks has the most advanced economy in a Minecraft server. There's 3 sectors. First, there's primary goods, like wheat or logs. There's secondary goods, like finished armor sets, potions, and more complicated items to craft. And finally, there's tertiary goods, services from arts to map making to law. Stoneworks currency does have its problems, but it is carefully managed to allow for this diverse and creative economy to function. It's backed by iron and gold, but there are also times where more currency is injected into the economy, or taken out. For a short while, the currency was backed by cakes, where you could exchange cakes to get money. This was a way to inject money in the economy after a long period of deflation. This shows that intervention in a currency system can be more useful than simply leaving everything to the players. The complex economy of Stoneworks, with thousands of players, can only be managed through a plugin that adds a modded currency. Imagine if Stoneworks never had any plugin currency. Individual players would choose their own currencies, but the large world size and massive distances between countries would make genuine cooperation hard, similar to Civlabs. Imagine, if you will, one region would use books, another would use emeralds, and so on. If you're managing a shop or advertising a service in the system, you'd either have to limit the shop to your own currency, or put down different prices for every currency that exists. You can't communicate prices as effectively. Stoneworks shows that a centralized, server-controlled currency is very useful for encouraging economic growth and freedom, especially if you have a large number of players. Finally, there is Hermitcraft. The Austrian guy seems to use Hermitcraft as an example for his own video, but if you actually look at the server, it disproves his theories. Also, I'd like to credit Useless Extra Planet Janet for the informative comment regarding the server. At first, Hermitcraft might seem like an economy with no server intervention. The players seem to choose diamonds as a currency all by themselves. However, this was not a decision by individual players, but it was rather chosen by the community itself. The center of Hermitcraft's currency is the shopping district, a specific area where players can make shops to exchange goods for diamonds. It has been modified through the many seasons of Hermitcraft. Season 7 had an example of regulation. In this case, you had to buy land plots in the shopping district with diamonds. This took money out of the economy, thus reducing diamond inflation, and it allowed for a more interesting shopping experience. In Season 9, diamonds were gathered up really quickly due to an event, and this caused rampant inflation. Immediately after, to help control the economy, all the Hermitcraft members had to throw the diamonds down a pit. This may seem like a drastic action, but think of it. The diamonds had to be taken out for a good economy to happen. It's classic monetary theory. If there's rampant inflation, you take money out of the economy. This is contrary to the Austrian idea, you see. A government intervention, in this case, is wholeheartedly better than letting the players to their own devices. There were some other currency shenanigans in the season, but they're mostly there for lore, and I'll ignore it for the sake of this video. Season 10 had more strict regulations to the permit system, which gave each permit specific permits for which shops to build. They were implemented poorly, which is probably intentional, but there are many easy fixes you can do to make it better. For example, you could distribute the permits based on merit or passion. I could honestly go way more on permits, but I want to get to the season that I've missed, Season 8. You see, in Season 8, there's no shopping district at all. It was more Austrian, with each individual player having the freedom to choose how to sell their products. They're not bound to a regulated shopping district anymore. However, this led to the same problems mentioned before, a lack of information. In this case, many hermits had a hard time knowing where the shops were, and there's a lot of redundancy in individual shops. Look at all 4 servers, ImMrPibb, Civlabs, Stoneworks, Hermitcraft. There is one thread that underlies it all. Government intervention increases cooperation, while individual freedom in choosing currency creates confusion and chaos. And this is applicable to real life. Austrian economics do not work anywhere. That is the real TLDR of this video, to be honest. Just some notes I want to highlight before I end it. I think the other people's sessions are fine. The wheat currency is okay, but at some point, using too many mods. Like, you really could install a currency plugin if you're committed to the modded route. As for another starback securities, I think it could work. However, the Austrian guy's response to it is stupid. He references a part of American banking history, where in the 1920s people were panicking and it caused bank collapses. However, he ignores the rest of the story. You see, after the banking collapse, the government responded by setting up the FDIC, which is basically insurance for the money deposited in banks. Even if the bank goes under, you can still recover your money. Ever since the FDIC was created, the banking system has become much more stable in the United States. It's actually easy to imagine a similar system taking place in Minecraft. But yeah, about the title, I really do think the best currency depends on both the server and the players. It is difficult, honestly, to find a currency that works fine without mods and without trust. Trust means a group of friends who already know each other. Stoneworks has mods, but it doesn't have trust. Hermitcraft has trust, but it doesn't have mods. I'm unsure if there'll ever be a currency in Minecraft that doesn't need both. And that's my thoughts on the whole currency debacle. You can add it to your playlist or whatever. Do you really think I should have analyzed other servers? I don't want to talk about 2b2t. That's a whole other mess. Anyways, I really hope you've enjoyed this video, and subscribe for more.